Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming to the Lunch and Learn. We have Tori Garrison speaking today. She's the project director of the Reparations Stakeholder Authority of Asheville. But first, we're going to have a little message from Home Trust.
Hey, everybody.
Hey.
All right, that was no reply. I shouldn't be surprised to say hello to somebody, but my name is Paul Heathman. I'm with Home Trust Bank. We're a sponsor of LOTSAR. This is Jill. Hey, Jill. Yeah. So we sponsored this lunch. And I want to say it too. You're very welcome. Hope you enjoy it. Black Bear Barbecue. They're over in River Ridge, like next to where like Rugged Warehouse used to be. Yeah. Gabe's. And they're great. Gabe's, right? Thank you. So they're great. They do barbecue, but also have like a veg option. And they're like, hey, sorry. They are really the chef there is taking flight here lately, doing hosting dinners for like members of big bands like Tool, and was a celebrity chef on Jam Cruise. And so anyway, it's like our little barbecue joint, but the chef is like really blowing up. It's just cool to be able to support them. They work really, really hard. So
it's delicious.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thanks for saying.
Much appreciated.
Awesome. Good. So I'm not going to take too much time, but there's a lot of news in the banking industry. You might have heard that interest rates are up a little bit from what they were a few years ago. And it's maybe you heard. Okay, yeah. So yeah, right, yeah. So of course, it's to curb inflation. The Federal Reserve is pushing interest rates up, essentially to slow down many things, but the real estate market, which we're deeply interested in. It's working in a lot of areas. We're not seeing our market slow down like a whole lot, but nationwide, we're starting to see some of those numbers, days on market numbers are increased. So to some degree, it's working. The Federal Reserve, what they like to do is tell us what they're going to do over the next several months or year, and then stick exactly to that, right? Which is not what they've been doing this year, right? They have told us what they're going to do, and then surprise us with something else, which is every time you see the markets kind of freak out and rates fly up, maybe back down, oftentimes up and back down. This is really why, because it really shakes us, the markets, the speculators, secondary market banks that are setting mortgage rates are not sure what to expect. I'll give you an example. The expectation up until a few weeks ago was that we would see interest rates kind of level off, maybe one small increase before the end of the year, and then maybe around Q3-ish of next year, maybe start to fall again. Well, a couple Wednesdays ago, they came out and they said, we do still expect to do one more interest rate hike by the end of the year, or probably in November. But expect, this was the language that everyone freaked out over, expect rates to be higher for longer, when the markets expected that to mean that probably not seeing any easing in the middle to Q2 or 3 or maybe even 4 of next year. So in a day, in an hour, interest rates moved up 0.375, almost a half, just like that. And we're talking about how does that affect a $500,000 mortgage payment?
It's significant.
So $100 or something. I mean, it's a big number. So for rates to fly up that quickly in an hour, I've been doing this for 10 years. Jill's been at it for 13. I've never seen that before. Like this, we are strung tight. Any kind of news that comes out. I will say though, things tend to go up and come back. And they did exactly that. So rates came back down to about where they were before that. And then this past weekend, we got some big news of a new conflict in the Middle East. And that is certainly going to have a big impact. We will find out on November 1st how the Federal Reserve feels about that. So watch for the news on November 1st at that meeting. Every one of their meetings, they talk about the Ukraine conflict. But the reason I think that the Middle East conflict is more significant is that it will impact gas prices and petroleum. The cost of petroleum is part of almost every product and service that we buy, right? Something, whether we're making it or it's a service, it takes petroleum to build it or deliver it. So that I do think it's going to have a significant impact. I can't say which way it's going to be. It could ease rates down. I think I don't know if it's wishful thinking. I think that could be it, because we could decide that it could be inflationary. No, I don't know. It could go either way. So watch for November 1st. All right. So this speaks to the affordability of mortgages, real estate right now. So I just want to shift here for a minute to talk a little bit about what Home Trust is doing to give more access to mortgages and real estate. I do one word of caution when you're talking to your customers about interest rates and where we are right now, because everybody knows they're higher. There's going to be a lot of your customers that are going to be thinking, well, now's not a good time. Rates are high. I should wait. Well, a lot of people are thinking that. And if they wait, they're going to have a lot more competition when rates fall than they do now. So if we can make it work for them now, they can refinance when rates drop. So caution everyone, the only benefit of high rates right now is maybe a little reduction in competition. So don't wait. You'll have a ton of competition up against you if you wait. All right, so let's shift gears into affordability, down payment assistance programs. Jill is well versed in these programs and stacking them. And all right, take it away.
So we have three main down payment assistance programs that we work with. And what this can make a difference is the affordability is making it harder for people to qualify for what they want. So this money that we can get people on top of their mortgage can make the difference with them qualifying for the house they want to buy. So the easiest one for us to get that we are using a lot of is with North Carolina Housing Finance Agency, and they have a $15,000 program where you can get $15,000 towards your purchase. And that program is fantastic. It's pretty easy to qualify for. So if the household makes less than $87,000 a year, they can get that $15,000. So that does make a big difference for folks in their payment. There's also Federal Home Loan Bank, which also you can get $10,000 to $15,000. And we can use these programs together. So if they can qualify for both of those, that can get them $30,000, which is a big difference in the house that they're looking at. What's really great about North Carolina Housing and Federal Home Loan Bank programs is that those are forgivable once they've lived in the house for 10 to 15 years. So that's going to really build some equity long-term for these folks getting into homes when that money is forgiven in the future. We also work with Mountain Housing Opportunities, and they have 30 to 40,000 available that we can also stack with those if they qualify for the income limits. That one's a little bit lower of an income limit, so it's a little bit more difficult to qualify for, but we know the ins and outs of all these programs and are looking for them in all of our buyers. So seeing if we can, adding on 15,000, lowering their mortgage payment, it's going to make a difference for folks out there.
I saw our team get, I think it was $38,000 not too long ago for somebody.
Yeah.
If we can qualify somebody for $210,000 and we can get them 38, we're in a price range that exists. Maybe not in downtown Asheville, but in Western North Carolina, there are still some homes in that price range. So we're making things work, whereas without these programs, it may be impossible. So I think we love working on those kind of things. They're very satisfying for us to be able to have success like that. And we speak a little bit to the MCC and how that helps you qualify.
Yeah, so we also with North Carolina Housing have an option to do a mortgage credit certificate, which is available for first-time home buyers. So it's like a $2,000 tax credit they can get every year that they live in the house. And we can use that as income since it reduces, they're getting an extra $2,000 a year. We can use that in income. So we like to kind of keep that in our pocket for those situations where we might just need a little bit more income to get them in that house. So that's a really great program that's out there for first-time home buyers too. And it's a lot of money in the long run to get that credit. And you can only get it when you buy your house for the first time. So if you don't set it up then, it's no fun to find out about those things after you bought your house a year ago.
Yeah, certainly. All right, let's not take too much more time, but I want to talk a little more about what Home Trust specifically does for to push forward what we believe is important for equitable development and equitable lending. We have a head of, what do we call her?
Community lending
Director,
I think that's what her name is. Yeah.
So we've designated one employee to make sure that we're constantly moving the ball forward when it comes to equitable lending, community lending. Home Trust we have one loan program that's ours, only ours. It's not a Fannie Mae program. It's not a nationwide thing that anybody can do. It's a loan program that we created that we can use in specific instances to help certain parts of our community qualify for a loan. Not only can we use this directly with customers, but we also use that same program to help Habitat for Humanity. They use that program and we fund their homes as they build them. So this is very important to us as an organization. And me personally, I'm on our city's advisory committee on the subject of affordable housing policy and projects. Our liaison is a council liaison is Antoinette Mosley, who we work with closely to make sure that that everything that we're doing is can be kind of equally distributed to the community appropriately based on our values. So I think that's all I really wanted to share. You got anything else you want to add? Oh, I love it.
I hope that you all will at some point consider being a lender for ABCLT, Asheville and Buncombe Community Land Trust.
Yeah.
I know that we've been having those conversations for about 2 years.
Okay.
So
I would love to put you in touch with Kat, the person we're talking about specifically. I'm somewhat familiar with ABCLT, but here, can I give you a card?
I love that.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Yeah, Kat, that person who is forever focused on that and connecting programs like that would be the perfect person. So shoot me an email and I'll connect you. All right. So that was going to be my next thing was questions, right? So you just teed it up. Does anybody have questions about the Federal Reserve or anything?
Is there a website page that we can reach that has all those programs and how they can stack or template they can send us something around those lines?
So I don't think we have anything with them all together. They're all different agencies.
Sorry, there was a housing fair 2 weeks ago that had all of those pages.
She's right.
Okay. Yeah.
That's true. Okay, so this is a good time. Tommy, is it official yet? Okay,
No.
Tommy is unofficially and soon to be officially named the chair of the Affordable Housing Committee. So this is a committee that's a board of realtors committee. And my role on it, I feel like, is mostly to connect the city's efforts with what we do here. And Athena, who you may know, has been the chair for a while. She's passing the baton to Tommy, who has created these housing mobility workshops recently that have been just wildly successful, where we go into the communities and are doing education and free credit reports on site, in different communities around town, around the county. But we have a housing. What do we call that? The book.
The flyer, or not the flyer, the affordable housing.
The guide. So we have an affordable housing guide that will speak to all of the resources available. So we should get you a copy. There's a digital version online, but we also have some printed that I'm sure are here. So do we?
Yeah.
I'm getting a yes from Nadine. Okay, so let's make sure we make one of those available. I think too, we want you to have all those resources, but more than that, like it's complicated for how they fit together. Like it's not easy to stack those all together. So we want you to know them and know about them and be able to have conversations about them, but not so deeply that you're like in the weeds with it. Like we want you to send them to us and let us take a look at their situation. Right. Question?
Kinda.
Yeah.
I have a young lady, I'm a fairly new agent. I have a young lady that needs some financial guidance.
Cool.
Is there a name of somebody I can give her?
Yeah,
Superville, I know you have an office there, but.
Yeah, she can call either one of us. I'm happy to talk to her. You know, that's the one thing, being on these committees and being in the community for so long, I may not have or know the answer or be the exact resource, but I bet you I know where to go. I bet you it's On Track Financial. I bet it's, yeah, On Track is amazing. Myself or Jill or somebody else at Home Trust has been teaching mortgage qualifying at On Track for like a decade or more. So, you know, we love On Track, and On Track is also part of our housing mobility workshops that Tommy created for us. So, yeah, we're all connected, and we were just having a conversation about how to educate all of us so we know how to point people in the right direction. Because with lending, when I mortgage qualify somebody, it's almost never like a no. It's a if this then this. You know, it's what's your next step. You know, and maybe it's credit repair and On Track. All right, let's hear it.
So with the down payment assistance program, can they be used with manufactured homes?
So Federal Home Loan Bank, their program does allow manufactured homes. North Carolina Housing, it has to be a new, never occupied one. So it's a little bit trickier. And then Mountain Housing does not allow for manufactured. So that's one of those unique things we'll have to navigate. But
Cool. Good question. Right, everybody, let's get on to the main event. Thank you. Yeah.
yeah.
Thank you.
Brian's over there. We need that.
Brian, you might want to be closer. I just want to. Okay. And I just tap it when I want to go to the next one. The clicker. Oh. I think because we have this chair for you to sit.
So right will advance it.
Okay.
Make sure.
Okay, awesome. All right. Hello. All right, so I am Tori White Garrison, and I am the project director for RSAA, which is the Reparations Stakeholder Authority of Asheville. And to my right, I have Libby Cowles, who is the executive director for ZEDEC, and also sits on the steering committee for RSAA. Hello. All right, so today it's going to be brief. It is. It's not going to be long because I want us to have a conversation at the end, which I think conversation is a lot better than me talking at you. We are exploring ways that RSAA and Land of Sky can work together, can collaborate as we look at reparations and restorative justice within Asheville and Buncombe County. All right, so I'm going to give you an overview of RSAA, our values, focus of action, where we stand with Black home ownership. A lot of this information you may already know, and the importance of Black home ownership. And then we're going to talk about ways that realtors can support reparations and racial equity. All right. You want to take this one?
You want me to take? 22-year veteran classroom teacher. So I think I can do this time. You think? All right, so overview. So the Reparations Stakeholder Authority of Asheville, RSAA, is an independent Black-led institution that guides the distribution of reparations funds in response to community input. Reparations Stakeholder Authority of Asheville will be the first of its kind in Western North Carolina, where people are able to give money for reparations. And the premise is not that you give money and you tell us what to do with the money, but is that you give money and Black people in Black neighborhoods have Black voices that determine what happens with that money. That makes sense? I'm not gonna read every paragraph, I'll just kind of, well, I just told you about us. So our mission, the RSAA, is the Reparations Finance Authority that manages the distribution of monetary reparations to Black citizens in Buncombe County, North Carolina. The RSAA works to directly benefit our local Black communities and to heal the harms caused by systemic racism. Our vision is we envision a future where the United States of America has fully atoned for the harms of chattel slavery, the transatlantic slave trade, redlining, and other manifestations of systemic racism. So as an organization, we seek to do more than just distribute funds to individuals. We really are looking at what does reparations mean, right? So there are 5 pillars of reparations, and one of those pillars is restitution. And the restitution portion of reparations is not just about funds to individuals, it's about creating a system where repair is being done in communities. So that means, do we want funds for individuals? Why, yes, of course we do. But we also want funds that will support having an equitable housing market, funds that will support an equitable educational system, funds that will support communities identifying what they need to impact their lives in a positive way so that they are on a, I won't say equal playing field, but equitable playing field with other citizens. Any questions about that? Okay.
All right, so a little, see.
Did you go too fast?
No, I just needed to slide up. It's all right, we're gonna work together. All right, so a couple of our values, there are 8 values, just to touch on a few of them. We are not a monolith, meaning that all Black people don't think the same. No. You can't talk to one Black person and think because you talk to one, you know, everything that all Black people want. You don't. So we're not a monolith. It takes all of us coming together and using our collective voice. We move at the rate of trust, and trust looks different, right? So coming in here, I've never seen a lot of you may not trust what I'm saying, right? It's the first time you're seeing. But after a while, we build that trust. And so we move at the rate that I feel comfortable, right? That I feel like I'm ready to trust the relationship. We build innovative models and systems for reparations to Black communities. Again, we're learning from Black organizations, Black citizens, Black people in Asheville and Buncombe County. And we're being innovative in the way that we go out and we have discussions and we create systems and we look at reparations for Black people. Let's see. I will make sure y'all have a copy of this. One of the other things that's really big for me is that we collaborate with Black-led organizations. I think historically, a lot of times when we talk about Black-led, it's typically like we have a Black face out there, but the decision makers are not Black. And so we want to make sure that we're being intentional about really reaching out and working with other Black organizations that have that allow for Black power in the sense of decision making and implementation of policies and procedures. We are ever evolving, so our strategies and tactics and responses to change in political power is going to be changing. We may have a focus right now, and it may change. It's going to change in 2024. I mean, 2024 is an election year, so we know it's going to change, right? What we need, what is necessary for our joy may be different. All right. Our focus of action. Sorry. This is what I get for using a PDF. But this is still, I like this. All right. So when I thought about how RSAA works, right now, I'm RSAA, right? In the sense of who the staff is. However, the focus, if you notice in this bullet point, what is this called? A bullet? No. Bullseye. The focus is membership. And for RSAA, the membership is Black. Literally, the membership is what makes RSAA go around. Membership is the focus. Membership is the decision makers, etc. I was very intentional on making sure, if you notice the board members, government agencies, space shifters, and investors are all together. Because if I started this and put board at the top, it just continues in the way that things have always been, right? Mm-hmm. And so I wanted to make sure that we had a bottom-up hierarchy. And that means that the board members don't really control they don't control what the membership is doing. So the membership are the people who decide how we're allocating funds, what we're going for, what's most important in that moment, who gets it, etc. Each Black voice represents one Black vote. Now, where do you come in? You may be an investor. Companies or private entities that recognize the harm of oppression and understand their role in restoring trust through monetary investments and partnerships. It could be space shifters. I love space shifters. I know shape shifters. I played on that. Yeah. Yeah. I know. I played on that because the whole idea of space shifters, what we have historically known as allies. These are the people who are willing to go ahead in the spaces that they already occupy and shift. And shift them without myself, without Libby, without other Black bodies having to be there with you. Without having to use our voice and our labor to argue with people or tell our stories that we've been telling for so long. It's to allow us to heal and allow you to shift, right? And so that may be shifting how you look at real estate. It may be shifting the people that you are working with. It may be shifting within your own self, what your beliefs are. It may be shifting the money you have in your bank account, right? It's a space that you are already taking up and shifting it. And then, of course, we have government agencies. And as far as government agencies, I know sometimes it's a scary place for people, but we also understand that policies and regulations have to be shifted in order to support us, right? We can only do so much without policy and regulations. Any questions about this?
I just have a general question. Is RSAA the same? Is RSAA the group that was appointed by the City Council?
No.
Committee?
Great question. So no, we are not controlled in any way, shape, or form by the government.
Okay, so you're a separate entity.
We are completely separate. The commission was appointed by Asheville City Schools and Buncombe. Asheville City and Buncombe County. I know I'm thinking about the school already. Asheville City and Buncombe County, and so they are coming up with recommendations to put forth to the county and city government on ways that they think reparations should happen, right? But ultimately, city and county would make the decision. RSAA, we don't have to wait on anybody else to make those decisions. We have the ability to make those decisions and implement them.
And are you working with that committee or separate from them?
So we have people who are on that committee who are members.
A lot of overlap.
In a way. You want to add to that?
You want me to add to that?
Well, in a nice way.
So let me say, okay, in a nice way. Okay, I'll do that. So there are
there is some overlap in that there are people on the steering committee currently who are also a part of the reparations process. But the other piece of this is that we're not working in opposition to the commission. We are hoping that the end result will be that we're all walking alongside each other, right? So while we don't want to have any type of association that gives Asheville City or Buncombe County control of our processes, there might come a time where if an IFA, one of the groups in the Reparations Commission, suggests that funding go to RSAA to handle this or to handle that, that's a possibility. But the distinction that we always want to make very clear is that RSAA is not controlled by any government entity.
It is independent organization.
It is independent.
All right, so just plain as I get out. Looking at the most recent census and taking up that information, it's pretty straightforward. But what I thought was interesting is when we look at the United States as a whole and how Black people make up homeownership in the United States versus North Carolina and then Asheville. And I specifically concentrated on Asheville because how many of you are from Asheville? Okay, born and raised.
All right.
All right, what school? That's high. Yeah, that's the best one. But one of the things that's very interesting is when we look at like the 70s in Asheville, Black homeowners were like what 60 to 70%,
Mm-hmm.
right? 60 to 70% of Black people own their home. However, through eminent domain, redlining, and everything else that happened, Black homeownership plummeted. Over 400 acres taken, over 1,200 families displaced, and we're still seeing the effects of it. We also know as Home Trust Bank, I do not remember what I'm horrible with names. Paul. What Paul talked about, and he made you made reference to where Asheville is not really seeing a change because of interest rates, right? We're not really seeing a slowdown because everybody wants to buy Asheville, right? But what we also notice is that people who are born and raised here have to leave Asheville because they can't afford it. When I purchased my home back in when did COVID happen? 2018? 2020. So 2019, I purchased my home. And I purchased it in Swananoa. The lady across the street from me just sold her home for $450,000, $200,000 more than I bought my home. Every other day, I get a letter or something from a real estate agent asking me to see. Every other day. Hope not. But no, she's not in here today. Because I'm about to say, I just got one yesterday. But it just talks to the fact that we know that the property matters here, right? But we're just not able to afford it. And there's a huge gap. Even when we look at Hispanic homeownership rate, the Asian American homeownership rate, it's still higher than the Black rate within North Carolina. Within Asheville. These numbers are all Asheville. That's not even looking at the state or nationally. It's just in Asheville. Not to mention the percentage, anybody know the percentage of Black people in Asheville? It's super low.
Are we like at 6% now?
And see, the census compared to what Buncombe County releases, it's like two different numbers, but it's between 6 to 10%.
Do you know how that number compares to the 70s when there was a lot higher Black ownership? Was there a lot more Black population?
So yes, however, it was still not a large population, but yes, it was a lot larger than what it is now.
It was more like 16%.
Yes. And it was more like 70% of that 16% were homeowners within Asheville. They didn't even look at Buncombe County. All right, so thinking about Black homeownership, one of the things is gentrification, urban renewal,
Can we change that to urban removal?
Urban removal.
Right.
And some people call it it's also been called Negro removal.
Well, that's you.
And red line. These are the things that have directly affected Black homeownership. These are the things that continue to affect Black homeownership right now. So what are ways to address reparations? When we think about homeownership, when we think about the real estate, housing equity, small business and economic development, community investment, land and property restitution. This is where all of you amazing people come in, right? And we get to talk about how does this work. So for me, when I think about housing equity, I think about the process I went through to purchase my home and the homes that I was being shown by my real estate agent. It was something as simple as the houses that she chose to show me. And I'm like, well, wait a minute, I'm researching and I see some better houses. Why are you showing me these? I don't think you were a real estate agent. Right? Okay. So I ended up, and again, I went into the bank not even trying to get a house. I went in just like, what do I need to do? Because I didn't know. And I was like, hey, what do I need to do? And then I walked out with pre-approval of it. And I said, you lying? She was like, no, you got pre. I said, me? I'm a single mama with 2 kids. Well, then I was. I was like, me? And so I got it and I was shocked. But I did have to go through 3 different real estate agents because I noticed that I was being shown certain homes in certain communities. And one of the things that I was never shown was any home in Asheville. Right? When we think about small business and economic development, even thinking about the businesses, Eagle Market Street, which was back then was known as the block. You could go to the block and it'd be covered in Black businesses with brick and mortar, right? Not virtual businesses, not co-op businesses, but literally their name is on the outside of the building. You can't go down there and see that, right? The South Side, what now is called the River Arts District, Black. That was Black. Honestly, back then, you didn't see anybody want to go over there. That's where I grew up. And so one of the things when I think about the space that real estate agents and just real estate in general, realtors, et cetera, you get to know about these businesses that come up. You may own some of these spaces where Black businesses, whether it is corporations, organizations, small businesses, nonprofits, et cetera, they can get access to not only good office spaces and office buildings, but affordable. And I know we use affordable a lot. Affordable is different for different people, but making sure to have that conversation to see what is affordable. You want to add anything? No. That was me. I'm like, I think I'm going to a hot flash. Community investment, again, looking at what does that look like? Does that look like, hey, I'm willing to give, now, I'm clutching pearls. I'm willing to give a percentage of the money I make off this sale. Let's say I'm selling a home in the Montfort area that was historically Black. And I just sold this home for $2 million. I'm willing to give a small percentage back to Black community through reparations. It could be that I want to give, let's not say it's a large amount. I have this property that I am renting out, and historically I've never rented it to someone who gets Section 8. And now I'm willing to rent it to someone who gets Section 8. That's community investment. That's being able to
not lose anything, and still be able to help the community be in a better position, especially if you own property in Asheville. Because again, we just can't afford to live here. We make up about, you will be able to tell me, because it's been a while since I've been with housing, working on Asheville Housing Authority. But I know at one point I think we made up roughly 70% of low-income housing Black people did. Is that number still the same? No? Okay. I thought he said that you were on affordable housing with that. No.
For you.
Okay. That's about right. Okay. So we make up roughly 70% of the low-income housing community within Asheville. Again, think about that based on the percentage of Black people that actually live in Asheville. So when you think about it based on the percentage of Black people in Asheville, more than half of us live in poverty. However, families ago, grandmother, mother, they didn't. So I want to have a conversation really, what time is it? Real quick conversation, 4 minutes. I want to have a conversation with y'all about what are some ways that you think we could collaborate? What are some things? How are you feeling?
Can I say something before you get straight into that? I'm gonna come up here so I can see y'all beautiful faces. I think one of the things that we seldom talk about when we talk about reparations of any kind is why it's important. And so I hope that you'll leave here today thinking about this. Reparations is not about you losing something. It's not about Black people asking for a handout. It's not about you having to sacrifice. The focus of reparation is repair. And a part of what needs to happen as we have these conversations is that there needs to be acknowledgement that harm has been done to Black folks. And whether of course you weren't back in slavery, you can't live that long, well, somebody could. But the reality is, whether or not your ancestors were a part of slavery or not, as white-bodied folks, you benefited from the institution of chattel slavery, period. And so when we have these conversations about reparations and land and property and things like that, some of the things that I hope you will embody is that if we are all human and we respect the dignity and humanity of every human, you should want for me as much as you want for yourself. And you should be able to consider my children the way you consider your children. Because you have this advantage, not that you earned, but that you were given simply because of your skin color. Y'all feel what I'm saying? Yeah. So when we have these conversations, I really hope you can lean in to the fact that whether the United States of America acknowledges or not, this land was built on our backs. And I say our because my ancestors' trauma lives in my bones. And it affects how I live today. And when we acknowledge those things, these conversations become a lot easier. Okay, sorry about that. Ooh, no, that was good. That's God. And so with that, thinking about what are some ways that we can collaborate together. And it may not be things that can happen immediately. It may be something that individually you want to do. It may be something that collectively you want to do. It could be something where you're like, you know what, and I know you already do this, making sure that we're getting more Black realtors. Because when I thought about, I went to realtor school, and then I said, I don't want to sell a house. But anyway, I got it just in case. You know, you never know how the economy gonna go. I go sell a house.
I need to. But even if it's something as simple as, and I say as simple as because typically people tend to move quicker when it doesn't require them to reach in their own pocket, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so even if it's something as simple as being intentional about the properties that you show, being intentional about the neighborhood that you take people in, making sure that you're not being a part of that gentrification process.
So with a lot of people moving to Asheville, Spruce, or Lost, and so that community college investing for these properties off the lost. So how could y'all inform Bayless Region about that history that's in your mind? Because people have.
Is that so? The first thing I would say, really correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like the Dwayne Barton has created something called a green book. And I don't know if you all are familiar with Dwayne Barton, but if you're not, you should be. But he has plenty of materials that has Black neighborhoods mapped out. And I think every realtor should have access to that. And if you, in fact, I will reach out to Dwayne and make sure you get some of that.
We've sponsored a couple of these tours for our members
Mm-hmm.
to take tours.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a hood hunters tour. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, and then also that's something that we can make sure that maybe we have a link to on our website as well.
So you were mentioning perhaps a percentage of the commission of the sales tax. We have a program going on now. I think that we talked the amount of food bank during the month in September, where a portion of commissions go towards the amount of food bank. So we could perhaps establish the same program here for this. So something.
Yeah, I definitely think that is something.
I was wondering too, just to continue on LOTSAR's involvement, like I do find that, like I'm a new realtor and I do find this to be a very white space and I want to see more diversity. And if there's a way that LOTSAR or maybe other organizations that help realtors kind of navigate this could develop some kind of scholarship fund or something to help with realtors, because this is a very expensive job to get started in. And I have a lot of help from my employers, but if I didn't, I wouldn't be here right now. So just a way to help realtors that would otherwise be left out or not able to even engage in this business.
I might learn fence. About 5 years ago, we started a real estate
Apprenticeship
program that then we would award scholarships, and it was directed towards certain demographics in the community. And we would award scholarships, which basically got them through pre-licensing, got the license, paid for their first year MLS and first year dues and association, which is a fair amount of money.
That'd be a great
And
story.
it kind of fell apart a little bit during COVID. We're hoping we get money set aside to get that back on track. And NAR, the National Association of Realtors, also has resources to that. So we're all about it.
And I just want to say, David, that I am a product of that program. I became a realtor going through the real estate apprenticeship program. And I probably would not have done so if not for that program. I do have a question, Tori, which is there an opportunity to train individuals? Because we're talking to LOTSAR, but the reality is that we are part of different brokerages, right? So is there an opportunity to train individual realtors to become space shifters within their brokerages? They might not have, the knowledge, the ability at first to even speak to the issues that you're bringing up. But with the proper support, they could become advocates within their own organizations for what you're asking.
Yes, and that is something that I didn't do my background, but yes, that is something I actually have a background in unionizing work and organizing, and so making sure that people are equipped with the knowledge to be able to go out and advocate for other individuals. And so, yes, I think it would be very important to have realtors go through some kind of training. And it doesn't need to be
a week long, it can be a couple of hours, it could be a day, whatever is necessary for them, but to talk about not only to, what's your name? Jenny. What Jenny said about, hey, I'm new here. I don't even know some of these neighborhoods. It could be information about that. Also information of how do I talk to someone who looks different from me. I can tell you going in, there's hesitancy at first. And there's certain things I may not disclose just because I'm like, hey, how are you? Do you think you're better than me? Whatever. Yes, exactly. And so I think that is very beneficial, and we can look at creating that for sure.
I mean, within there's something called at home university, which provides realtors with the opportunity to think about those things. But I think there's additional opportunity to bring it home to where we are, so that you can speak to your location, you can speak to your geography and the things that have happened here.
Yes, I agree.
Going off of what Jenny said, the first question, years ago, I went to the Buncombe County Library downtown, and in the lower level, the amount of photography and history of historically African American neighborhoods in Asheville is really profound in the lower level there. There's photography from one of my favorite photographers. I forget her last name, but it's on. Yes, Angela.
Yeah, she's actually has her work up still right now at what is that brewery downtown across from the it's connected to the Grove Arcade. Oh, y'all know what I'm talking about? It's a small brewery. They have really who? The Wedge. Is that it?
I myself is there.
Is that it? It's like right in front of the Grove Arcade. It's like
It's pretty good.
I think that's what it is. Yeah, but her photography is actually up there right now until the end of October.
My dad always had her photography framed in the house, and I always asked questions growing up. And you look at these streets and you can kind of recognize them, like Hazard and Huntington, MLK, South Charlotte Street. But the real change is just drastic. So it's really important to spread the word to really familiarize yourself with that old photography and kind of pay attention of what those neighborhoods were by visiting the library. There's so much you can learn there, so definitely spread the word on that.
What was her last name?
Clark. Yeah.
Okay.
And just for reference, I'm on it at some point when I have free time. I want to petition for South Charlotte to be renamed Valley Street, which is what it was originally. Yeah, so
I think that's a win.
you and I might want to join for it.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
I can see your hand in your hand.
I don't have really a question. I just have a statement to back up what you were saying about Section 8. With everyone that work with investors, our firm, we work with a lot of Section 8 renters and housing choice voucher program holders. So they're able to switch over their Section 8 vouchers to purchase a home using their housing choice vouchers. So I just want to say to every realtor in here that work with investors that there's the stigma about Section 8 and getting people to rent their homes and insure their homes, but these people can potentially be homeowners as well. So if you guys can just relay that to your clients, I appreciate it.
Yeah, and it again goes to shifting those spaces that you're in and acknowledging what is your bias against this, right? Because a lot of times people say, well, they'll do this with no knowledge that they've ever done that. And the reality of it is anybody can destroy your house. I mean, whether you have money or not, anybody can destroy your house. But what I can tell you, I was working in the federal government during COVID, and it was amazing to me the amount of investors that was calling me on a regular basis to get someone in with Section 8 because it was guaranteed funds for them
Yes.
during COVID. So that was like a huge seller for me. I mean, people that I would never, and they're like, okay, could you please? Because I need to pay this. Yeah, those bills didn't stop, right? And then I'll get you Paul.
Either. I had a similar experience. I hate to be one of the white guys in the room who's like, hey, I've got a little story here, but there we go. I enter humbly. But, a lot of this stuff has been on my heart and my radar for a long time. And, books like The Colored Law, which LOTSAR actually sponsored.
Yeah,
Yes.
David, you brought us a book. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was, that was like, wow, LOTSAR's doing it. That whole experience of having the writer of the book Colored Law come and speak to a group of like 60 or 70 of us was great. So anyway, reading a book like Colored Law, and you learn, everything that you said in your beautiful speech there was absolutely true, but it obviously goes so far beyond chattel slavery. The failing of the this is so much of what I learned like reading that book, the failure of the restoration movement after slavery, and then Jim Crow, and then redlining, and then it's all the way up to mass incarceration in the 90s that was sponsored by the Clintons, that really went after specifically young Black men. It's there's so much more to it than. And that's where the systemic nature of racism is. That's when I really started to realize, oh God, systemic racism is baked into our banks, it's baked into our government.
Education system.
Our education system. It's so much more than
It's American.
It really is. That was the part for me that was like, now I understand white privilege. Now I understand, just how the word systemic and word reparations, all these words have so many things around them. But when you look at systemic racism, means that racism is built into our systems.
Yes.
And it's not that's the book of color, the Colored Law book says that it's not by accident that happens. It is by intention. It's intentionally baked into our systems by mostly white men in this country who were not comfortable, the last 100 years, who were not comfortable, did not believe that Black people were full human. And that was the part for me that really sunk this in for me, that it's just so much bigger than Black people were slaves in this country. That, what a horrible foundation that is, but the fact that those tendrils just stretched out over history, and they still, so that was a real eye-opener for me. And part of my process was, Matt Allen and Nate Deeds know about a little bit of this history, but I worked for Graybeard Realty out of Black Mountain.
Oh yeah, Graybeard. Yeah.
I hope it wasn't any of
Oh no. Actually, Graybeard used to rent to some of my veterans when I worked for the government.
Okay.
They had people that they would go in and really advocate for.
Yeah. All that to say is, I'm so relieved to hear there wasn't a Graybeard agent who wouldn't show you.
Oh no.
But one thing that I really took notice of, several months ago was like you took a snapshot of the 30 agents at Graybeard Realty, and it's hashtag Graybeard so white, and that for me, in terms of talking about practical ways that we as realtors can work to do something, I sat down with the white male owner of our company and said, I would like for our picture in 2 or 3 years or 5 years to look racially, intentionally more diverse, and not just as a so that we can put that photo out, but as like an intentional way of actually bringing other folks that don't look like me into our spaces. He was totally receptive to it, and even said, if you meet certain individuals or start working with individuals that need financial assistance, because the other thing is, also the assumption that just because someone is black does not also mean that they need financial assistance. That's always kind of been the thing, you know, or a person, just because they're a person of color doesn't mean they'll need financial assistance. But through my conversations with Chip, you know, having him say, yeah, if there are individuals that would like to get their licenses and like to come and maybe work for a year, or at least do training with us and then go work wherever they want. He said, I'd be willing to pay for that. I'd be willing to. And so I ended up reaching out to the LOTSAR folks here and just said, are there any programs that can connect people like me to people of color who might be interested in this? And they introduced me to the National Association of Realtors Spire mentoring program. And funnily enough, I won't go into all the details, but my partner, my love partner, he and I were the only two people in all of Asheville who volunteered to be mentors through the National Association of Realtors Spire program here in this area, here through LOTSAR. We're the only two agents to volunteer. I don't say that to toot my own horn, but I say that to say that there are things out there, but the word's maybe not getting out. You know, and I think there's also just a lot of people who, you know, non-people of color like myself who might be afraid and might not have the knowledge base or not know how to talk about it, not get involved. So I just say all that to say, like, that's maybe that for me was a very practical way to look at my situation and say, how might I be able to help with this? And, you know, time will tell.
That was you being a space shifter, even within your own, shifting your own space.
I hope so.
Internally. No, it is. This is literally what it is. Being able to go in spaces and shift it, whether it's internal spaces, external spaces, financial spaces, work spaces, etc. You don't have to have, I can tell you this, Black people, we don't have a book on how to navigate white space. I can guarantee you, there is no book that has been written. We've had to learn it. And we've had to just, when we walk in spaces and we feel a certain way, y'all heard of code switching, right? Mm-hmm. We some amazing code switching, right? We can come in. I told Libby today, I said, oh, Libby, you look out. She said, yeah, we have to talk to people. It's just put me out like that. She look nice every day. But I'm just saying, there's a certain thing that we do when we have to enter into spaces. And so it's easy to feel uneasy when it's new to you because you historically not had to do it. Mm-hmm. In whatever space that you show up, you are accepted, right? If I was to show up in here with a hoodie on and some leggings and my hair up in a bun, y'all probably would be like, what is this woman in here doing trying to teach it? And Rita would have been like, no, she didn't come up in here like that. Yeah. That's the reality of it, right? Oh Lord, my bad. Paul, I know you had your hand up.
Yeah, I won't take much time. I just the housing choice voucher thing, a couple of things there. First, Home Trust can take housing choice vouchers to qualify people too. But that would be leaving out the fact that any lender can use housing choice vouchers to qualify because Fannie Mae allows it. So any lender out there can do that. They should know how to do it. It's not difficult.
And that's the thing. I have not ever, like, in working in it, working with through HUD Vash. I don't know if any of you are familiar with HUD Vash. Yeah, but it's a voucher program specifically for veterans. And the amount of people that would say no to even attempting to have a conversation with a veteran about homeownership was mind-boggling to me.
So my heart is in the homeownership area because we talk about in the city permanently affordable housing. When you own it, it's permanently affordable, right? Nobody can take it from you. Your interest rate's locked in. Taxes are going to go up, but they just do. So that's where my heart really lies. But also, I want to mention if you have like rental properties or no landlords that have rental properties, something pretty magical happens when we pull someone out of like project-based housing who already has a voucher into a home is that another voucher pops up where we moved it.
Yeah.
So we get, our area gets another voucher.
Yeah.
So it gives us more access to be able to house more people. So you're doing double duty when you pull someone into a landlord, like a home situation, and out of that project-based housing. So know that it's very, very powerful you can do. The other thing is that, this is an uphill battle, but our MLS systems across the country use rental, like we have, you can go on and find rentals. We don't do that here. It's just not, I'm not sure exactly why, it's never caught up. But one thing that I worry about with us not using a system, is that we're not tracking the data, and we wouldn't know if the discrimination is happening. We wouldn't have any idea because we don't have the data all in the system. We're like all out there on islands individually looking for renters and filling homes. So if you find yourself in the space to advocate for using the MLS for rentals, I would love for you to push that forward. It would give us the ability to track things a little bit.
I'm not even gonna try with your name. So
I wanted to echo what Paul had mentioned about renting to folks with housing choice vouchers. If you're not familiar with Thrive Asheville, they have the landlord-tenant partnership. I participated in that. I'm a landlord. My two clients are Section 8 clients. Yes.
I knew you were
So, it's a wonderful program, and anytime I hear of, as a realtor, I hear of a unit going up for rent, I immediately try and send those folks, say, hey, go talk to Thrive Asheville. They can get you with a tenant. They provide systems of support for your tenant and for you to bridge any type of issues that you may be feeling about that situation. It's a super wonderful program, and yes, it does exactly what Paul was saying. As you move kids out of the housing community projects and into neighborhoods, it's just a way to get them to be in better places. Libby and I were both teachers for Asheville City Schools for 20 years, and I dealt with families with Hillcrest, PBA, and it just, those families just always had challenges that my other kids just didn't. And it was just always the case. So
Thrive has like dispute resolution. They have a repair fund.
Is it still 10,000? 7,500.
The repair fund that Thrive has extra money in it because they didn't actually need all the money. They just needed to show landlords that it was there, that it existed, but they didn't actually use it because guess what?
it wasn't being tapped.
And so really quick, I just want to give you an opportunity. Here's my contact information. And then also, because we're all about membership and we're all about this ecosystem of organized disruptors, that's what I call it. If you are in this space and you identify as Black, please join as a member. If you are non-Black and in this space, please join as a shapeshifter. No, space shifter. Sorry. Halloween is coming up. And you can go to our website, or I actually have some actual, what's on it? I have some actual flyers that I can give you as well, or you can go to the website and literally join from there. I'll leave you with this. One of the things that resonates so much with me is that racism and oppression is so American that when you're fighting it, people think you're fighting America. Mm-hmm. And so just know that when you do this work and you start having conversations with people, it may not feel good at first. It may be tough to grapple with the fact that you are a part of a system that you didn't choose to go into, right? But ultimately, you benefit from. It's okay to feel uncomfortable. It's okay to feel like that it's okay to enter into this and not know exactly what you're doing, or not know the exact end result.
because Black people have been doing it since Black people have been, right? We literally don't know. We walk out today, we don't know how that's gonna end for us. It is okay. Lean into that uneasiness, lean into the space of feeling a little like, oh, I don't know if I'm ready. Have those conversations with the people that you go home to, that you work with, that you come in contact with every day. If you ever need support, if you have questions, you can always reach out. I am more than willing to assist in a way that I can. Some of it may be me sending you just information to research on your own, but I will send it, okay? It was awesome to have this time with y'all today. Thank you for having me, and I know we went a little over, but